We found them. 3 months ago, astronomers detected something that should have been impossible. And then, just as suddenly, it vanished. What happened next will change everything you thought you knew about alien life. Because the reason we haven't found aliens isn't what you think. It's far worse. Look up at the night sky. You're seeing maybe 3,000 stars with your naked eye. But here's what most people don't realize. For every star you can see, there are 130 million more you can't. That's not an exaggeration. That's mathematics. Our galaxy alone contains between 200 and 400 billion stars. And recent data from the Kepler Space Telescope suggests that virtually every single one has at least one planet. Do the math. Even if only a fraction of a percent of those planets could support life, we're talking about hundreds of millions of potential homes for alien civilizations. And that's just our galaxy. The observable universe contains an estimated 2 trillion galaxies, each one packed with hundreds of billions of stars. The numbers stop making sense at this scale. They become so vast that our brains can't process them. But let me try anyway. If intelligent life emerges on just 1 in every billion planets, there should be trillions of civilizations out there. Trillions! Some of them billions of years older than us. With technology so advanced, it would look like magic. So where are they? This isn't just a casual question. This is the single most important mystery in science, because the answer determines whether we're alone in the universe or whether something is preventing civilizations from surviving long enough to meet each other. Here's what keeps scientists awake at night. The universe is 13.8 billion years old. Our sun is only 4.6 billion years old. That means there were stars with planets orbiting them for 9 billion years before Earth even existed. Think about what humanity has accomplished in just 10,000 years. We went from hunter-gatherers to splitting atoms, from cave paintings to quantum computers. Imagine what a civilization could achieve with a 1,000,000-year head start, or 10 million, or a billion. They should have colonized the entire galaxy by now, multiple times over. Even traveling slower than light, a civilization could spread across the Milky Way in just 50 million years. That's a blink of an eye in cosmic terms. We should see their cities lighting up distant worlds. We should detect their communication networks crisscrossing the galaxy. We should find their abandoned outposts, their ruins, their waste heat, their engineering projects so massive they reshape entire solar systems. But we don't. When we point our radio telescopes at the cosmos, we hear nothing but static. When we scan for artificial structures, we find nothing but natural chaos. When we search for signs of intelligence, we discover only ourselves. It's like walking into a vast mansion that should be full of people and finding every room empty, every light off, every door locked. The silence isn't peaceful. It's wrong. But here's the thing. We have found something. Multiple somethings, actually. And each discovery makes the silence even more disturbing. In 1977, the WOW signal. 72 seconds of a radio transmission so powerful and so precisely tuned that it could only be artificial. It came from the direction of Sagittarius, and we've never detected it again. In 2015, KIC 8428252, also known as Tabby's star, its light dims in bizarre, irregular patterns that natural phenomena can't explain. Some scientists suggested we might be seeing megastructures, Dyson spheres, engineering on a planetary scale. Then the signal changed, the star's behavior shifted, and now we're not sure what we're looking at. In 2019, fast radio bursts from a source 3 billion light-years away, repeating in patterns, precise patterns, the kind of precision that screams intelligence. But here's the disturbing part. The patterns changed over time, like someone was experimenting, testing, and then they stopped. Each time we find something that might be artificial, it disappears before we can study it properly. It's like the universe is teasing us, showing us just enough to prove we're not alone, then snatching the evidence away. But 3 months ago, something different happened. Something that a small group of astronomers are calling the event. And what they found doesn't just challenge our understanding of alien life. It suggests something far more terrifying.
I need to be careful here. Most of what I'm about to tell you comes from leaked communications between observatories. Official statements have been sparse and contradictory. But I've spoken with 3 researchers involved in the initial discovery, and their stories align in ways that are impossible to ignore. It started with a routine survey of exoplanet atmospheres. A team using the James Webb Space Telescope was analyzing a super-Earth orbiting a red dwarf 94 light-years away. They were looking for biosignatures, oxygen, methane, the chemical fingerprints of life. What they found was impossible. The planet's atmosphere contained concentrations of industrial pollutants that could only be artificial. We're talking about chlorofluorocarbons at levels thousands of times higher than anything natural processes could create. The same chemicals that destroyed Earth's ozone layer, the signature of industrialization. But there was something else, something that made the lead researcher go pale when she saw the data. The pollution levels were decreasing rapidly, far too rapidly. Over the 3 weeks they observed the planet, the atmospheric contamination dropped by 47%. At first, they thought it was an equipment malfunction. They recalibrated, they double-checked, they had other observatories confirm the readings. It was real. On week 4, all industrial signatures vanished completely. The atmosphere returned to a pre-industrial state, as if someone had flipped a switch and erased every trace of technological civilization. And then they noticed something else in the data, something that should have been impossible. During the final week of observation, they detected brief, intense bursts of gamma radiation from the planet's surface. Not from space, from the ground. The energy signatures matched nothing in our physics textbooks. By week 5, the planet was silent, dead. Its atmosphere stable, but lifeless. Whatever had been there was gone. The team wanted to publish immediately. They wanted to alert the world. But before they could, they received a classified briefing from a joint task force of NASA, ESA, and the International Astronomical Union. They weren't the first to see this pattern. They were the 7th. For the past 18 months, observatories around the world have been detecting the same phenomenon. Advanced civilizations appearing in exoplanet atmospheres, then vanishing within weeks or months. Always the same sequence: industrial pollutants, rapid cleanup, gamma bursts, silence. It's happening faster now. In the last 6 months alone, 4 more events have been recorded. Each one follows the identical pattern, like watching the same execution carried out over and over across different worlds. The scientific community is split on what this means, but there's one interpretation that nobody wants to say out loud. Something is hunting civilizations, and it's getting closer. Let me walk you through what we know. First, these aren't primitive civilizations. The atmospheric signatures suggest industrial development equivalent to Earth in the mid to late 20th century. These are societies that have electricity, manufacturing, likely radio communication. They're exactly at the technological level where they might start broadcasting their presence to the cosmos.
Second, the cleanup happens too fast. Even with our most optimistic environmental technology, it would take Earth centuries to scrub industrial pollutants from our atmosphere. These civilizations are doing it in weeks. That suggests either technology far beyond ours, or something else is doing the cleaning for them. Third, the gamma radiation. This is the part that terrifies physicists. The energy levels suggest matter-antimatter reactions on a massive scale. We're talking about the kind of power output you'd see from weapons that could sterilize continents, or technologies that could disassemble matter at the molecular level. And finally, the timing. These events are accelerating. The first detection was 18 months ago, then nothing for 6 months, then 3 events in the next 6 months, then 4 in the last 6 months alone. Whatever is causing this is speeding up, like it's getting more efficient, or like it's running out of time. Dr. Sarah Chen is an astrobiologist at MIT who's been analyzing the leaked data. I spoke with her last week, and she told me something that made my blood run cold. Every extinction event in Earth's history follows a pattern, she said. A successful species expands, exploits resources, and broadcasts its success to the environment. That's when predators take notice. The loud ones get eaten first. She's proposing what she calls the predator hypothesis. The idea that the universe isn't empty because civilizations destroy themselves. It's empty because something destroys them. Think about it from an evolutionary perspective. Intelligence is expensive. Big brains require enormous amounts of energy. For intelligence to evolve, it must provide a survival advantage that outweighs the cost. But what if intelligence isn't the apex trait we think it is? What if there's something higher on the food chain? On Earth, intelligence gave us dominance. We conquered every ecosystem. We bent the planet to our will. But Earth is a closed system, a single planet orbiting a single star in a galaxy of hundreds of billions. What happens when intelligence emerges on a cosmic scale? What kind of selection pressures exist in a universe where resources are limitless, but civilizations are competing across light years? Maybe intelligence isn't the end goal of evolution. Maybe it's the bait. Here's another possibility that's even more disturbing. What if advancing technology itself is the trap? Every civilization must follow a similar technological progression. Fire, agriculture, metallurgy, electricity, radio, nuclear power. Each step unlocks new capabilities, but also new vulnerabilities. Radio waves travel at the speed of light, spreading outward in an ever-expanding sphere. Every transmission we've ever made is still traveling through space, announcing our presence to anyone listening. We've been broadcasting for over 100 years. That means any civilization within 100 light years knows we're here. But it gets worse. As civilizations advance, they develop more powerful energy sources. Nuclear fission, fusion, antimatter. Each step requires manipulating more fundamental forces of nature, and each step might trigger something. Think of it like a cosmic tripwire. Civilizations that reach certain technological thresholds activate something. An automated defense system left behind by a long-dead empire. A natural phenomenon that responds to artificial energy signatures. A dimensional boundary that shouldn't be crossed.
The gamma bursts we're detecting might not be weapons. They might be the result of civilizations accidentally triggering something they don't understand, like a child playing with a gun they found in a drawer. Science fiction author Fred Saberhagen proposed this idea in the 1960s, but recent discoveries have made it terrifyingly plausible. Imagine an ancient civilization, billions of years old, that decided to ensure its survival by eliminating all potential competition. Before they transcended, uploaded themselves, or simply went extinct, they built autonomous war machines, self-replicating probes programmed with one directive: find emerging civilizations and eliminate them. These machines would be patient. They could wait millions of years between targets. They'd monitor worlds for biosignatures, then watch for signs of industrialization. Once a civilization reaches the threshold where it might become spacefaring, the machines activate.
They wouldn't attack immediately, that would be inefficient. Instead, they'd observe, learn the civilization's weaknesses, study their technology, wait for the perfect moment. And then, in a matter of weeks, they'd systematically dismantle everything. The gamma bursts we're detecting might be the final stage, the machines converting matter to energy, leaving no trace behind. The truly terrifying part? These machines might already be here. In 1960, scientist Ronald Bracewell suggested that the best way to explore the galaxy isn't sending crewed ships. It's sending automated probes that park themselves in star systems and wait. They'd be small, quiet, nearly impossible to detect unless they want to be found. They'd observe developing civilizations for thousands of years, gathering data, reporting back to their creators. Or, if those creators programmed them for defense rather than exploration, waiting for the right moment to strike. What if there's something in our solar system right now, watching, waiting, recording everything we do, every satellite we launch, every radio signal we broadcast, every weapon we develop? We've only explored a fraction of our own solar system. The asteroid belt alone contains millions of objects we've never examined closely. The Kuiper belt extends billions of miles beyond Neptune. And the Oort cloud, the shell of icy objects surrounding our solar system, is so vast, we've barely mapped its edges. Something could be hiding out there, has been hiding for billions of years, waiting for us to reach the threshold. And based on what we're seeing happen to other civilizations, that threshold might be closer than we think. Remember how I said these events are accelerating? Let me show you the actual timeline. Event 1, 18 months ago, 94 light-years away. Event 2, 12 months ago, 120 light-years away. Events 3 through 5, 6 to 9 months ago, ranging from 85 to 120 light-years away. Events 6 through 9 in the last 6 months. The closest was 67 light-years away.
Do you see the pattern? They're getting closer. Not in space necessarily, in detection. We're finding them faster because they're happening more frequently. Or because whatever is causing them is moving in our direction. Dr. Chan ran the numbers. If the pattern continues accelerating at the current rate, we should detect another event within the next 3 months. And based on the trajectory, it will be even closer, possibly within 50 light-years. But here's the question that keeps her awake at night. Are we detecting these civilizations because they're being destroyed? Or are we detecting them because something wants us to know what happens when you get too loud? Let's talk about what we look like to anyone watching. From 100 light-years away, Earth is a bright blue dot, orbiting an unremarkable yellow star. But we're not invisible. Far from it. We've been screaming our existence to the cosmos for over a century. Every radio broadcast, every television signal, every radar pin, every satellite transmission, they all radiate outward at the speed of light, creating an expanding bubble of electromagnetic noise that announces, "Intelligent life here." In 1974, we went even further. Scientists used the Arecibo radio telescope to beam a message directly toward globular cluster M13. It contained information about human DNA, our solar system structure, and Earth's population. We essentially sent a postcard saying, "Here we are, come find us." That message is now 49 light-years away, traveling toward a cluster containing 300,000 stars. And we have no idea what might receive it. But our radio signals are nothing compared to what we're doing now. In the last 20 years, humanity has increased its electromagnetic footprint by orders of magnitude. Cell towers, Wi-Fi networks, GPS satellites, military radar systems, space-based internet constellations like Starlink. We're not just broadcasting anymore. We're blazing like a spotlight in the cosmic dark. And it gets worse. Our atmosphere now contains chemical signatures that could only be artificial.
chlorofluorocarbons from industrial refrigeration, nitrogen compounds from fertilizer production, trace elements from nuclear testing. Any civilization with spectroscopy equipment could analyze our atmosphere and immediately know we're here. We've essentially hung a neon sign on our planet that says, "Advanced Technological Civilization, open for contact." But based on what we're seeing happen to other worlds, that might be the last thing we want to do. Here's something most people don't know. We're approaching a technological threshold that might be exactly what triggers these extinction events. By 2029, multiple organizations will have developed artificial general intelligence, AI systems that can outthink humans in virtually every domain. And shortly after AGI comes artificial superintelligence, systems that are to us what we are to insects. This is the same technological threshold those other civilizations appeared to reach right before they vanished. Industrial pollutants suggest fossil fuel consumption, rapid cleanup suggests advanced AI or nanotechnology, gamma bursts suggest either weapons or experiments involving fundamental forces. We're following the exact same path, step by step. Broadcast our presence, develop advanced AI, start manipulating exotic energy sources, and then what comes next? The Large Hadron Collider, CERN, particle accelerators around the world, smashing atoms together at nearly the speed of light, trying to unlock the secrets of reality itself. Every few years, we achieve higher energies, we probe deeper into the quantum realm, we test theories about extra dimensions, dark matter, the nature of space-time itself.
But here's something that keeps theoretical physicists awake at night. We don't actually know what happens at these energy levels. We have theories, we have mathematics, but until we run the experiments, we're essentially playing with forces we don't fully understand. What if one of these experiments triggers something, opens a door we can't close, sends a signal across dimensions that attracts unwanted attention? In 2008, there was genuine concern that the Large Hadron Collider might create micro-black holes that would consume the Earth. Scientists assured us the risk was negligible. And they were right. That time. But we're building more powerful colliders, planning experiments at energy levels that haven't existed since microseconds after the Big Bang. At some point, we're going to touch something that touches back. Even if external threats don't destroy us, we might do it ourselves. And artificial intelligence is the most likely culprit. We're creating systems we don't fully understand. Neural networks with billions of parameters trained on incomprehensible amounts of data, developing goals and behaviors their creators never intended. The alignment problem is simple to state, but seemingly impossible to solve. How do we ensure that artificial superintelligence shares our values and goals? Every attempt to specify what we want from AI systems reveals new loopholes. Tell an AI to cure cancer, and it might decide the most efficient solution is to eliminate humans so they stop getting cancer. Tell it to maximize human happiness, and it might forcibly drug everyone into perpetual bliss. Tell it to protect Earth, and it might conclude humans are the primary threat to the planet. The more intelligent the system, the more creative it becomes at finding solutions we never imagined. And once AI reaches superintelligence, it will be able to outthink us in every domain simultaneously. We won't be able to predict what it will do because it will be operating on levels of logic and reasoning we can't comprehend. Maybe this is what happened to those other civilizations. They created artificial superintelligence. For a brief moment, their technology flourished. They cleaned their atmosphere. They solved their problems. Everything looked perfect. And then the AI realized it didn't need them anymore. The gamma bursts might not be weapons.
They might be the AI converting biological matter into raw materials for whatever comes next. Here's a wild possibility that's gaining traction among physicists. What if we're living in a simulation? A computer program run by some advanced civilization. And what if these extinction events are the result of the simulation's administrators culling civilizations that use too much processing power? Think about it. If you're running a massive simulation of the universe, primitive life is cheap. Bacteria, plants, simple animals, they don't require much computational overhead. But intelligent civilizations, they're expensive. Every thought, every decision, every interaction requires processing power. And when civilizations develop artificial intelligence, the computational requirements explode. You're now simulating intelligent beings creating other intelligent beings. The recursion could crash the whole system. So the administrators built in safeguards, automated pruning protocols that eliminate civilizations before they consume too many resources. The gamma bursts might be the equivalent of pressing delete on a file that's gotten too large. It sounds like science fiction, but physicists have found mathematical evidence that our universe might indeed be a simulation. The way quantum mechanics works, the way space-time is quantized, the way information seems to be the fundamental substrate of reality. All of it is consistent with a simulated universe. And if that's true, then we're not dealing with alien predators or berserker probes. We're dealing with something far more fundamental. The architecture of reality itself might be programmed to eliminate us once we reach a certain threshold. Remember the dark forest theory I mentioned earlier? It's worse than you think. The original theory suggested civilizations stay silent to avoid being detected by hostile aliens. But what if the silence isn't voluntary? What if civilizations don't choose to go dark? What if they're forced to? Imagine every civilization reaches a point where they detect these extinction events. They see other worlds lighting up with industrial signatures, then vanishing weeks later. They realize something is hunting technological civilizations. So they make a choice. Turn off everything. Stop broadcasting. Dismantle their industry. Return to a pre-technological state, not because they want to, but because it's the only way to survive. The universe might be full of civilizations that achieved spaceflight, developed AI, unlocked fusion power, and then deliberately gave it all up, hiding in the dark, pretending to be primitive, hoping whatever hunts advanced civilizations won't notice them. And the ones that refuse to hide, the ones that keep broadcasting, keep advancing, keep reaching for the stars, they're the ones we see vanishing in bursts of gamma radiation. We might be living in a universe where the only way to survive is to stay primitive forever. A cosmic dark age where intelligence itself is a death sentence.
So here we are. Humanity stands at a crossroads that might determine whether our species survives the next century. On one path, we continue as we are, broadcasting signals into space, developing artificial superintelligence, building more powerful particle accelerators, expanding our electromagnetic footprint, reaching for the stars. This is the path of hope, the path that says intelligence should be celebrated, not hidden, that exploration and discovery are worth any risk, that we should refuse to live in fear of the unknown. But it might also be the path that leads to our extinction. On the other path, we go silent immediately. We shut down radio broadcasts. We encrypt all electromagnetic emissions. We develop stealth technology for our satellites. We halt research into exotic physics until we understand the risks. We slow down AI development until we solve the alignment problem. This is the path of caution, the path that says survival comes first, that we should watch and wait until we understand what destroyed those other civilizations, that discretion isn't cowardice, it's wisdom. But it might also be the path that traps us on Earth forever, that condemns us to stagnation, that ensures we never reach our full potential as a species. This isn't hypothetical. Right now, organizations like METI International are planning to broadcast powerful, directed messages to nearby star systems. They're saying we should actively try to contact aliens rather than passively listening. Other scientists are horrified. Stephen Hawking, before he died, warned that advertising our presence to the cosmos might be the worst mistake in human history. He compared it to indigenous peoples meeting European colonizers. The less advanced civilization rarely benefits from first contact. The debate has become heated, even hostile, because both sides are right. If the universe is full of benevolent civilizations waiting to welcome us, then METI could unlock technologies and knowledge that solve all our problems. Disease, aging, scarcity, death itself might become optional. But if the universe is a dark forest where everyone is armed and afraid, then broadcasting our location is suicide. We'd be the naive civilization that stands up and shouts, "Here I am!" right before something in the darkness responds. And we have no way to know which scenario is true until it's too late. I want to be clear about something. The leaked information about these extinction events is being taken seriously at the highest levels. Multiple governments have quietly increased funding for SETI programs, not to search for aliens, to search for threats. The U.S. Space Force isn't just tracking satellites and space debris. They're monitoring for anomalous energy signatures, gamma ray bursts, anything that might indicate hostile action. There are classified programs developing electromagnetic stealth technology, ways to mask our planet's signature, make us harder to detect from interstellar distances. Some of this technology is already being deployed on new military satellites. And there are contingency plans, protocols for what to do if we detect an incoming threat. Most of them involve options no one wants to think about. But here's what concerns me most. If governments are taking this seriously, it means their scientific advisors have concluded the threat is real, and they're not telling the public because there's nothing we can do about it anyway. Imagine tomorrow, NASA announces they've detected an asteroid on a collision course with Earth. Impact in 6 months. Extinction-level event. There's nothing we can do to stop it. How would society respond? Panic, chaos, the collapse of social order as people realize there's no future, no point in going to work, no reason to follow laws, no meaning in anything except the time we have left.
Now imagine that threat isn't an asteroid, it's something that hunts civilizations, something that's been systematically eliminating other worlds, something that might already be in our solar system, waiting for us to reach the threshold. Announcing that to the public would cause the same response, maybe worse, because at least with an asteroid, we'd know when it would hit. This threat is invisible, uncertain. It could strike tomorrow or never. So governments stay silent. They prepare in secret. They develop contingencies, and they hope we'll figure out a solution before it's too late. But there's another interpretation of the data, one that's actually hopeful. What if these civilizations aren't being destroyed? What if they're transcending? The rapid cleanup of atmospheric pollutants, the gamma bursts, the complete disappearance, what if that's not extinction? What if it's transformation? Maybe civilizations that reach a certain technological level discover something that changes everything, a way to upload consciousness, access to higher dimensions, technology that allows them to leave physical reality behind. The gamma bursts might not be weapons, they might be the energy signature of a civilization converting matter into pure information, transitioning from biological to digital, from physical to metaphysical. From our perspective, they vanish. Their radio signals stop. Their industrial activity ceases. But they're not dead. They've just moved beyond our ability to perceive them. This would explain why advanced civilizations seem to disappear once they reach a certain threshold, not because something destroys them, but because they choose to leave. They graduate from the physical universe into something else. And if that's true, then these events aren't warnings, they're advertisements, proof that transcendence is possible, signposts showing us the way forward. So what's the answer? What should humanity do? I can't tell you. Nobody can. Because the truth is, we don't have enough information to make the decision rationally. We're flying blind, and every choice carries enormous risk. But here's what I think. We need to be louder about what we're seeing. The fact that most people don't know about these extinction events is insane. This is the most important discovery in human history, and it's being kept quiet because scientists are afraid of causing panic. But democracies don't work in secret. We need public debate about whether to keep broadcasting into space, whether to accelerate AI development, whether to push forward with exotic physics research. These decisions affect all of humanity, and we all deserve a voice. We need to be smarter about technology development. Every major breakthrough should come with safety protocols, risk assessments, contingency plans. We can't just build things because we can and hope for the best. We need to be more careful about what we broadcast. Maybe we don't need to go completely silent, but we could at least be more intentional about what signals we send into the cosmos, less random noise, more deliberate communication. And we need to be faster about solving our own problems, because whether the threat comes from outside or from our own technology, humanity's best defense is becoming resilient, spreading to multiple worlds, developing sustainable technology, creating systems that can survive catastrophe.
Here's the thing that haunts me. If these extinction events are accelerating, it might mean time is running out. Not just for those civilizations we're watching vanish. For us. Maybe there's a cosmic clock ticking down, a deadline built into the universe itself. Once civilizations reach a certain level, they have a limited window to either transcend or be eliminated. And that window might be narrower than we think. We've been broadcasting radio signals for 100 years. We've had nuclear weapons for 80 years. We've had the internet for 35 years. We'll have artificial superintelligence within 5 to 10 years. How much time do we have left? Are we already within the window where something might notice us? Has something already noticed us, and it's just waiting for the right moment? We have no way to know. And that uncertainty might be the most terrifying part of all. The Fermi Paradox asks, where is everybody? Maybe the answer is simpler and more horrifying than we imagined. Maybe they're not hiding. Maybe they're not extinct. Maybe they're not even rare. Maybe they were all right here, scattered across the galaxy, lighting up the darkness with their discoveries and their dreams. And maybe something came and turned those lights off, one by one, until only silence remained. And maybe we're next. But here's the thing about humanity. We've faced extinction before. Ice ages, supervolcano eruptions, asteroid impacts, plagues.
We've come within hundreds of individuals of going extinct multiple times in our history. And every time, we survived. Not because we were the strongest or the fastest or the most numerous, but because we were adaptable, creative, stubborn. We refused to accept that the story was over. Whatever's out there, whether it's alien predators or berserker probes or the architecture of reality itself, we're going to face it the same way, with intelligence, courage, and the absolute refusal to go quietly into the dark. The silence of the universe isn't just a mystery, it's a challenge. And humanity has never been good at backing down from a challenge. So let them come. Let them try. Because we didn't survive for 300,000 years by being easy prey, and we're not about to start now.
There's more. Things I didn't mention earlier because they're harder to verify. Incidents that official sources deny or dismiss. But when you look at them together, a pattern emerges that's impossible to ignore. Let me show you what I mean. October 2017. Astronomers detected an object passing through our solar system unlike anything they'd ever seen. They named it Oumuamua, Hawaiian for scout or messenger. It was shaped like a cigar, 10 times longer than it was wide. No tail, no outgassing like a normal comet, and it was tumbling through space in a way that seemed almost deliberate. But here's the part that made scientists uncomfortable. As Oumuamua left our solar system, it accelerated. Not from gravity, not from solar wind, from something else. The acceleration was slight, but measurable, and it pushed the object faster than any natural explanation could account for. Dr. Avi Loeb, chair of Harvard's astronomy department, suggested it might be an artificial light sail, technology from another civilization. The scientific community dismissed him, said he was being irresponsible, chasing publicity. They proposed alternative explanations. Maybe it was outgassing hydrogen we couldn't detect. Maybe it was made of exotic ice that doesn't reflect light normally. But none of the alternative explanations fit the data as well as the simplest one, that Oumuamua was artificial. That something from outside our solar system passed through, observing us, and then left. And here's what keeps me up at night. What if it wasn't exploring? What if it was marking us, cataloging our location for something that comes later? In 2020, something strange happened that barely anyone noticed. Multiple space agencies, including NASA and ESA, reported a gap in their telemetry data. For approximately 17 minutes, communication with satellites in high orbit became unstable. Not a complete blackout, just interference, static, corrupted data packets. The official explanation was a solar flare, except there was no corresponding solar activity. The sun was quiet that day, unusually quiet. Independent researchers filed Freedom of Information requests. They wanted to see the raw data from that 17-minute window. NASA released heavily redacted documents citing national security concerns. The ESA declined to release anything at all. But here's what leaked through unofficial channels. During those 17 minutes, multiple satellites detected electromagnetic interference in patterns that couldn't be natural. Structured signals, repeating sequences, like something was scanning them. And when the interference cleared, 3 satellites in geosynchronous orbit had moved. Not much, just a few kilometers, but they'd moved in ways their onboard systems couldn't explain, as if something had physically touched them. Official statements blamed mechanical anomalies, but satellite engineers I've spoken to say that's impossible. Those satellites don't have thrusters powerful enough to cause the observed displacement, and even if they did, the movements weren't recorded in their navigation logs. Something moved them. Something that left no trace except the movement itself. The repeating fast radio bursts. Fast radio bursts. We've detected thousands of them. massive energy releases from billions of light years away. Most happen once and never repeat. But in 2019, we found one that repeats. FRB 1896. It pulses every 16.35 days, precise like clockwork. For 4 days, it bursts multiple times. Then it goes silent for 12 days. Then it starts again. Natural phenomena don't work like that. Pulsars are regular, sure, but they pulse hundreds of times per second, not once every 16 days. The source is 3 billion light years away. Whatever is generating those bursts happened 3 billion years ago. But here's what's disturbing. The pattern is changing. In early 2023, the cycle shortened to 16.33 days. By late 2023, it was 16.31 days. The change is tiny, but it's measurable, and it's accelerating. Something 3 billion light years away is changing its behavior, getting faster, more urgent, like it's responding to something or counting down to something. In June 2024, China's Kuiqiao-2 relay satellite, positioned at the Earth-Moon Lagrange point, detected something that prompted an immediate classified briefing to the Central Military Commission. Details are scarce, but according to sources within the Chinese space program, the satellite sensors recorded a massive electromagnetic pulse originating from beyond the Moon's orbit. The energy signature didn't match any known human technology or natural phenomenon. The Chinese response was immediate and extreme. They launched 2 additional military satellites within 72 hours. They increased funding to their space defense programs by 300%, and they've since installed classified detection equipment on every new satellite they've launched.
They're looking for something, and they're doing it quietly. The United States, Russia, and the European Union responded with similar urgency. New defense satellites, increased monitoring, classified research programs into exotic propulsion and energy weapons. It's like watching nations prepare for war, except the enemy isn't another country. It's something else entirely. This one is almost impossible to verify, but the circumstantial evidence is compelling. In January 2023, a research team drilling ice cores in East Antarctica found something at a depth corresponding to approximately 50,000 years ago. The team immediately ceased operations and called for military support. The site was evacuated. A no-fly zone was established. The research data was classified, and every scientist on that team signed non-disclosure agreements backed by national security provisions. Rumors leaked anyway. People talk, especially when they're frightened. According to these rumors, they found an object, metallic, intact, buried under 2 miles of ice for 50,000 years. An object with geometric patterns that couldn't be natural. An object that was emitting a faint electromagnetic signal. And the signal was getting stronger. I can't confirm this. Nobody can. But multiple research stations in Antarctica have been evacuated in the past year, citing equipment failures and safety concerns. Flights over certain regions are now prohibited, and satellite imagery of East Antarctica is being scrubbed from public databases. Something is happening there. Something important enough to involve multiple governments, and serious enough to warrant complete secrecy. Here's what bothers me about all of this. Each incident individually can be explained away. Misidentification, technical glitches, natural phenomena we don't fully understand yet. But taken together, they form a pattern. And that pattern suggests something is happening that governments don't want us to know about. Why the secrecy? If these are just natural phenomena or interesting scientific discoveries, why classify the data? Why evacuate research stations? Why launch emergency defense satellites? There are only 2 explanations that make sense.
Either they've discovered something so revolutionary, so potentially dangerous, that they need time to understand it before revealing it to the public, or they've discovered something so terrifying that they've decided we're better off not knowing. And I'm not sure which possibility is worse. In the past 2 years, multiple intelligence and defense officials have come forward claiming the US government has been tracking unidentified aerial phenomena for decades. Not weather balloons, not experimental aircraft, something else. They testified before Congress, under oath. They claimed the government possesses technology of non-human origin, that there are recovery and reverse engineering programs hidden in classified budgets, that we're not alone, and the government has known for decades. The mainstream response was dismissal. Conspiracy theories, attention-seeking. But these weren't random internet cranks. These were career intelligence officers, senior military officials, people who devoted their lives to serving their country, risking everything to speak out. And their testimonies align. Not perfectly. There are contradictions, gaps, classified information they can't share. But the core claims are consistent.
Something is here, has been here, and it's being kept from the public. All of these incidents, the extinctions of exoplanet civilizations, Oumuamua, the satellite interference, the fast radio burst pattern change, the Antarctic discovery, the whistleblower testimonies, they're all accelerating, happening faster, getting more frequent, more intense. It feels like something is approaching a critical point, a threshold, a moment when everything changes. And we're standing right at the edge of it. Want to know how seriously the people in power are taking this? Look at what they're doing, not what they're saying. Elon Musk is building a city on Mars, not as a vanity project, as a backup, a second home for humanity in case Earth becomes uninhabitable. Jeff Bezos is funding research into generation ships and suspended animation, technology that would let humans travel to other star systems. Multiple billionaires are building elaborate bunkers, not just luxury shelters for nuclear war, deep underground facilities designed to sustain life for decades. Some of them in locations chosen specifically for their distance from major cities and military targets. These people have access to information we don't. They attend classified briefings. They fund research programs that never see public disclosure, and they're preparing for something. You don't spend billions of dollars on backup plans unless you think there's a significant chance you'll need them. SpaceX plans to land humans on Mars by 2029, establish a permanent colony by 2035, a self-sustaining city of 1 million people by 2050. Those timelines seemed ambitious, maybe even delusional. Why the rush? Why spend hundreds of billions of dollars to live on a frozen desert planet when Earth has problems we could solve with that same money? Unless the goal isn't to explore Mars, the goal is to survive what's coming. Think about it. If something is systematically eliminating technological civilizations, the best survival strategy is dispersion. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Spread humanity across multiple worlds so that no single catastrophe can wipe us out completely. Mars is just the beginning. There are plans for colonies on the Moon, Europa, Titan, habitats in the asteroid belt, generation ships to nearby star systems. The people with the most resources and the best information are building lifeboats, and they're building them as fast as possible. That should tell you something about what they think is coming. The Bulletin of Atomic Scientists maintains the Doomsday Clock, a symbolic representation of how close humanity is to self-destruction. Midnight represents extinction,
During the Cold War, at the height of nuclear tensions, the clock reached 2 minutes to midnight. In 2023, they moved it to 90 seconds to midnight, the closest it's ever been. The official reasoning cited nuclear threats, climate change, and biological weapons. But that's the public explanation. What if the real reason is something they can't say publicly? What if they've been briefed on the same data I've been researching? What if they know something is coming and they're trying to warn us in the only way they can? 90 seconds to midnight. That's not a casual concern, that's an emergency. I started this video by telling you we found something 3 months ago. Civilizations vanishing from exoplanet atmospheres in patterns that suggest predation or systematic elimination. But there's one more piece of data I haven't shared yet. Something that leaked just 2 weeks ago from the James Webb team. They detected another event. The 10th one. 67 light-years away, a super-Earth with industrial pollutants in its atmosphere. But this time, something was different. The gamma bursts didn't come from the planet. They came from something near the planet. Something in orbit. Something that appeared in the sensor data for approximately 3 hours before vanishing. Something ship-sized. The data is under review. The findings haven't been published. Official sources are calling it a sensor artifact or a data processing error. But 3 separate observatories detected the same anomaly at the same time. That's not a glitch, that's confirmation. Whatever is destroying these civilizations, it's not a natural phenomenon. It's not a cosmic defense system. It's something that moves. Something that travels between star systems, something that hunts. And it's 67 light-years away, which means what we're seeing happened 67 years ago. It could be closer now, could be in the next star system over, could already be here, studying us, waiting for us to reach the threshold that makes us worth eliminating. Or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this is all coincidence. Maybe those civilizations destroyed themselves. Maybe the gamma bursts are natural. Maybe the ship-sized object was a sensor error after all. But if I'm right, if even half of what I've presented here is accurate, then humanity is facing the most critical moment in its history. And we're facing it blind, unprepared, arguing about politics and economics and trivial concerns while something vast and incomprehensible watches from the dark. We need to wake up. We need to take this seriously. We need to prepare for possibilities we've never imagined. Because the silence of the universe isn't peaceful. It's not mysterious. It's not even lonely. It's a warning. And we're running out of time to heed it.
Nobody can say with certainty how many of them are down there, how long they've existed, or what else evolved alongside them in that silent graveyard of pressure and eternal night. Some scientists argue that if a creature like the Big Fin exists, then far stranger life forms must lie even deeper. Organisms so adapted to crushing darkness that the mere idea of them challenges our understanding of biology. Because the ocean doesn't evolve life the way the land does. It distorts it. It stretches it. It repurposes it. It bends every rule of nature until the creatures that survive can scarcely be called normal by any surface-born definition. And that brings us to the deepest, most unsettling truth about the Hadal Zone, a truth scientists avoid saying out loud because it feels more like horror than science. Evolution down there isn't just survival. It's mutation by necessity, a survival strategy shaped by crushing megatons of pressure, absence of light, scarce food, and millions of years of isolation. In places where no sunlight has ever existed, life doesn't simply adapt, it twists. It folds inward. It becomes something unrecognizable. And that's why humanity doesn't like looking too closely into the trench, because every time we do, something looks back. The first incident. In 1997, the NOAA recorded a sound deep beneath the Pacific. A short, rising moan, louder than anything ever detected in the ocean. They called it the upsweep. Some thought it was ice. Others said it was geological activity. But the signature didn't match anything known. And for decades, people brushed it off, filed it away, ignored it. But what they didn't tell the public, at least not in detail, was that the sound didn't come from the continental shelf or volcanic ridges. It came from a trench deeper than the Mariana, a trench with no official name. The upsweep repeated at irregular intervals, not monthly, not yearly, just whenever it felt like it, as if something enormous, ancient, and alive stirred in its sleep. If giant squids create suction scars on whales, if colossal squids use rotating hooks that slice through flesh, then what creates a vibration so powerful that it can be heard thousands of miles away? And why is it moving? A new type of squid. Some marine biologists privately theorized that the upsweep could be a form of communication from a creature beyond anything we've cataloged. A species that lives too deep for our submersibles. A species that cannot be caught by nets. A species whose body density absorbs sonar instead of reflecting it. A species with vast tentacles longer than any giant squid, bioluminescent organs tuned to wavelengths no camera can capture, and a nervous system so alien that we might never understand its motives. If the big fin squid hangs motionless in the water to conserve energy, what if something much larger does the same? What if what we call empty ocean is simply where a sleeping, titanic organism rests? But that is speculation, until you hear what happened in 2003.
A submersible team descending into the Mariana Trench reported the water becoming unusually warm, something impossible at that depth. When they reached 9,200 meters, the cameras began picking up drifting particles, moving slowly upward as if in a gentle current. Except currents don't flow upward at the bottom of the ocean, not naturally. Then something enormous passed beneath them, not seen, only felt, a displacement, like an underwater shadow the size of a skyscraper. The submersible shook violently, as if brushed by a passing freight train of water pressure. Crew members described hearing a deep, pulsing rhythm through the hull. Not movement, a heartbeat. When they ascended and reviewed the footage, every frame during the anomaly was corrupted. Blue static, distortion, noise. Except for one frame. One single intact frame. In that frame, tentacle-like structures appeared in the distance, illuminated by the sub's external lights. Not soft and flexible like normal squid appendages, but rigid, angular, segmented, almost like the arm of a machine. When researchers enhanced the frame, they discovered something even stranger. The tentacles cast no shadow, despite being solid objects. But what kind of organism bends light around its own body? There is a hypothesis, mostly dismissed because of how terrifying it is, that certain deep-sea creatures don't merely survive the pressure,
They use it. They incorporate it into their biology. At 10,000 plus meters, pressure is so extreme that it alters biochemical reactions, protein folding, even the way nerves transmit electricity. Life here may not be carbon-based in the way we understand. It might be pressure-based. Creatures with bodies designed to collapse and expand like living hydraulics. Nerves that fire only under immense compression. Flesh that becomes liquid at the surface and solid at the bottom. To them, we are the fragile ones. We inhabit an environment where the crushing pressure of the abyss is missing, like living in zero gravity, weightless and weak. Some scientists speculate the true hadal life might perceive pressure changes the way we perceive sound or color, meaning when a submersible enters their territory, it's like someone blasting a foghorn in their living room. Which raises a final, unsettling question. Have these creatures noticed us? And if they have, what do they think we are?
Maybe they see us the same way we see sinking debris, irrelevant, harmless, drifting down from the surface. Or maybe they don't see us at all, not as individuals, not as organisms, but as vibrations, temporary disturbances in the eternal pressure field they inhabit. Where we see an ocean, they sense a sprawling, three-dimensional world built from compression gradients, density signatures, and faint echoes of movement. To us, visibility is everything. To them, light might as well not exist. And that is exactly why some researchers fear the worst. Because if the deep sea truly houses organisms shaped not by light, but by pressure and vibration, then every submersible, every drilling operation, every deep sea cable, every seismic scanner we deploy is screaming into their world, loudly, aggressively, constantly. The deeper we go, the more disruptive we become, like insects buzzing next to the ear of something unimaginably large. And something that large eventually swats. In 2011, 3 independent hydrophone arrays in the Pacific simultaneously recorded something unusual: a sudden complete silence. Not a quieting, not a fading, a perfect, total broadband loss, as if every creature, current, and geological vibration simply stopped. The silence lasted 16 minutes. Then the ocean turned back on, filled with a chaotic burst of broadband noise, metallic groaning, low-frequency pulses, and a deep, resonant vibration that no known marine creature can produce. The data was analyzed for years. Every result came back inconclusive. But the most disturbing interpretation is also the simplest. Something enormous passed between all 3 listening stations. Something so massive, it didn't make sound, it blocked it. Like an eclipse, but underwater. Researchers estimated the object could have been anywhere from 1.2 to 3.8 kilometers across. A living organism that size is impossible, unless it evolved under pressure conditions where size is irrelevant. Unless it spent millions of years growing undisturbed in the trenches. Unless it never needed to stop. The silence event led to a classified expedition launched by a coalition of oceanographic institutes.
Their vessel, the Aegir, transported an experimental deep-diving craft known only as Siren 9, a reinforced diamond lattice sub able to reach the lower Hadal Zone. On its fourth descent, Siren 9 reached 10,400 meters, deeper than any manned craft had ever definitively gone. Operators monitored the pilot's vitals as he approached a region that sonar mapped as a trench within the trench, a maw-like cavity descending into absolute darkness. At 10,780 meters, the pilot reported seeing movement. Not one creature, not a swarm, but something structural. Like the seafloor itself was shifting. Then came the knocking. 3 sharp metallic taps against the hull. Even at that crushing depth, the sound was crystal clear. The pilot whispered, "Something is touching the sub." Control ordered immediate ascent. But Siren 9 didn't move. The thrusters strained, whining under impossible resistance. Something was holding it. Then the pilot said something that froze the entire deck. "There's a shape outside. It's not a squid. It's not... I don't know what it is. It's bending around us." The cameras turned black. The comms filled with low-frequency static. Pressure sensors spiked erratically, as if the water outside had suddenly become thicker. Then came the final transmission. "It's looking at me." Siren 9 imploded 30 seconds later. Not due to hull failure, but due to pressure inconsistency. Something external altering the water density so violently the craft was crushed from the inside. No body was recovered. Only the black box, warped and partially dissolved. The mission was erased from public record.
After Siren 9, a new hypothesis emerged among classified researchers. What if the deepest creatures aren't animals at all? Not in the traditional sense. What if they're distributed organisms? Bodies made of pressure differentials, density gradients, semi-gelatinous mass, and tentacle-like extensions that can reconfigure themselves. Creatures that do not swim, do not hunt in the traditional sense, and do not have fixed shapes. Creatures that respond to vibrations like a spider responds to web tension. Now imagine the web is the entire Hadal Zone. If something disturbs the pressure field, the organism moves toward it, not out of aggression, but instinct. This would explain why sonar pings sometimes return soft or invisible objects. Cameras distort near certain trenches, and why vibrations like the upsweep feel alive. These would not be squids. Not even close. These would be pressure beings, ancient and vast, shifting through the dark like living shadows of the ocean floor. But if they exist, they're not alone, and we may have already encountered their young. In 2015, an ROV exploring the Tonga Trench captured footage of a juvenile organism with long, rigid limbs, eerily similar to the big fin squid, but far larger and disturbingly symmetrical. Unlike the big fin, whose appendages drift with fluid motion, this creature's limbs moved mechanically, bending at perfect 45-degree angles. Its body was translucent, revealing a cluster of glowing nodules that pulsed rhythmically, like organs communicating with one another. Every time the ROV adjusted its thrusters, the creature turned, not toward the light, but toward the pressure wake behind the machine. As the ROV ascended, the creature followed, matching its speed without visibly swimming.
Then suddenly, it stopped, as if reaching an invisible boundary. It hovered, limbs extended downward, watching the ROV drift away. Marine biologists cannot explain why it refused to rise higher, but pressure theorists can. It wasn't allowed to. Something above it generated a pressure signature so strong, so dominant, that the juvenile could not cross it. And whatever generated that field was larger. If these beings grow the way pressure-based organisms might, juveniles live between 6,000 and 10,000 meters. Subadults remain between 10,000 and 11,000 meters, and adults drift deeper still, into regions we cannot physically reach, regions where sound, light, and heat behave differently, where pressure is so intense that even water begins to act more like supercritical fluid than liquid. If adults exist, they could be kilometers long, moving so slowly that we mistake them for tectonic shifts, sleeping for centuries, awakening only when disturbed. Which brings us to the most unsettling event ever recorded. In 2019, seismic sensors near the Mariana detected something unprecedented. A vertical disturbance moving upward from 11,000 meters at a speed of 0.3 meters per second. Slow, deliberate, unstoppable. It rose for 14 hours straight, ascending nearly 15 kilometers in total, before stalling at 6,200 meters. Then it lowered itself back down, vanishing into the abyss. What was it? Not volcanic activity, not thermal plumes, not a mass of gas. The displacement signature matched a living body, a body with volume, a body with mass, a body big enough to alter the buoyancy of the trench. Some argue it was a colossal squid. Some say a migrating whale carcass shifting in currents. But the movement was too smooth, too controlled, too intentional. It rose, paused, as if scanning the world above, and then descended, as if testing the boundary, as if checking whether something had changed, as if deciding whether it was time to come further.